can you still get tanned using an in vivo tested sunscreen? And the answer is yes. Just because a sunscreen claims to be in vivo tested does not mean that you will not get tan or sun-induced hyperpigmentation after using that sunscreen. I mailed the brand to know whether this product contains micronized or non-nano-sized mineral particles, and the brand informed me that this has micronized particles. And the problem with micronized mineral sunscreens is that they are more prone to agglomeration. And in simple words, they are more likely to clump together in the formula, leaving some parts with lots of zinc and other parts with not enough. And this becomes very important factor for a sunscreen's performance because an even disruption of sunscreen on the skin is a critical factor for adequate sun protection. And we will discuss more about this later in the video. Also, I have seen so many people criticizing the in vitro test of sunscreens and claiming that only the in vivo tests are dependable. I actually prefer the in vitro tests, and we will talk about all of these things in this video. But first, let's talk about this product. This is a 100% mineral sunscreen and contains both mineral UV filters, that is zinc oxide as well as titanium dioxide. Fixderma has also uploaded a lab test report of this sunscreen on their website. While the packaging mentions that this sunscreen is both in vivo as well as in vitro tested, but when you analyze their lab test report, you will find that it is only the SPF test which is both in vivo as well as in vitro tested. The PA rating or the UVA protection rating is only tested in vitro. I personally prefer the in vitro tests, but isn't it fraudulent when the brand markets their product as in vivo tested, but in reality it is only the SPF testing which is performed in vivo and not the PA or UVA protection testing, which is not just comparatively difficult to formulate, but it is also more important for the Indian skin tone. For the SPF, both in vivo and in vitro tests have shown different results, and we will talk about why in this video later. But the in vivo SPF of this product is 52.5, whereas the in vitro SPF of this product is 60.3. Naturally, we wonder why there is such a distinctive gap between the in vivo and in vitro test results. For this, we need to first understand what these tests actually are. The in vivo test sunscreen measures the sun protection directly on human skin. That is, the sunscreen is applied on human volunteers. Whereas the in vivo test uses lab equipments to figure out the sun protection, such as a petri dish or a PMMV plate. Now, both the tests are supposed to measure the same thing, but the results are often very different. It is not only with this Fixderma product, but often you will find that there are inconsistencies in the in vitro and in vivo tests. That is because sun protection is not only a matter of UV absorption or UV reflection by the incorporated UV filters, but it is also equally important for a sunscreen to form an even layer on our skin. So the interaction of sunscreen formulation with the skin is also an important factor. And when we have a closer look on human skin, it is not as flat as we see from far away, but up close it has cracks and it is very uneven. So the distribution of sunscreen on human skin is going to be very different from that on a lab plate. Because unlike human skin, the lab plates do not have cracks. They are even, and also they do not sweat, because the sweat in human skin can also disrupt the sunscreen layer, thereby producing different results. Therefore, we have different results in vivo or in vitro tests. This is why we commonly see the in vitro results to be higher than the in vivo results. Before anyone claims that a sunscreen is unreliable just because the in vivo results are lower than the in vitro results. This is not happening for the first time. It has happened before, and I'm not talking about just Indian sunscreen, but this has also happened with European or French sunscreens, which are considered very heavy duty with regards to protection, as their sunscreen laws are very stringent. There is a day-long liposomal sunscreen by Galderma. This one was not released in India. This one was only released in Euro countries. The brand had reported UVA PF of 54. This is the in vitro result of UVA, whereas PPD as 28, which was their in vivo result of UVA. And I think there was also this kind of inconsistencies. I don't remember currently which specific product it was, but I think there was also some inconsistency with an AV technology sunscreen, and they had reported different in vivo as well as in vitro tests. अब इसका इस प्रोडक्ट से तो कोई लेना देना नहीं है, बट आई एम मेंशनिंग दिस बिकॉज a lot of people like to bash Indian brands, and that is okay. If a consumer does not like a product, we are going to criticize it, but at the same time, what I do not like is while we are critical about the Indian products, we blindly go gaga over the European or Korean beauty products. Because while we are comparatively more aware about the Indian products, I think it's the colonial effect which has led us to believe that whatever comes from overseas, from white countries, is automatically going to be good. Also, while the social media is obsessed with having an in vivo test, I personally do not mind not having an in vivo result of UVA rating. I wouldn't even mind if they only had in vitro result for both UVA and UVB. While I can understand that the in vivo test reports can reflect a more real life picture in comparison to in vitro, but that is if the brand is fair in their testings. So I am okay with in vitro too, because in vitro is also a widely accepted method of testing sunscreen. And I also prefer the in vitro test because I personally do not like humans or animals or any living being involved in cosmetic testings. And in the past, I also used to prefer these in vivo because I was so obsessed with the high protection. I wanted the best of the best protection. For some of us, it is a matter of high protection sunscreen, but for others or the subjects involved, this could lead to cruelty or savageness. If you have read about the Philadelphia prison experiments or research of retinoin, you will know what I am talking about. These tests were performed on human trials, and it shows us the corruptive effect of power and how even the seemingly normal brains, or the brains you will call as geniuses, like the scientists who developed retinoin, can quickly adopt abusive behaviors when placed in an environment of power and control. The doctor who conducted this whole research was later on criticized for this, but the company who actually funded this whole unethical research, that was Neutrogena, no one blamed the company, no one. Which is why I decided that I will not buy any Neutrogena products after reading about this. Fun fact, Neutrogena is owned by J&J. So yes, it is for the ethical reasons that I prefer the in vitro over in vivo. I would prefer to have a better and thorough in vitro test done on a product rather than testing the products on living beings. These new ways in order to optimize the in vitro testing methods are also being tested. So why not optimize the in vitro test rather than testing it on living beings? And while this is my personal preference, I also understand that the brands can easily manipulate the in vitro test results and show results that are inflated than their actual values. But guess what? This can happen not only with the in vitro tests but also with in vivo tests. The in vivo lab reports can also be manipulated by the companies, and they can show you the lab report with their desired numbers or whatever they want to show you. And I'm not saying this without any basis. The industry experts like Dr. Curtis Cole, if I remember his name correctly, has stated that the same results for not just in vitro but also in vivo cannot be reproduced. This is because different labs used different equipments and different methods to calculate the UV protection. And since the reports can be manipulated either ways, I'd rather prefer a test method that does not harm any living being. Please note that while saying these things, I am not claiming that Fixderma has manipulated their sunscreen reports. I am talking about this because of this current obsession with in vivo testings of the sunscreen. I think while these tests are important because they promote transparency and fair strategies by the companies, we as consumers should not heavily rely only on these lab test reports. Instead, we should make ourselves more aware as a consumer, because every skin tone is different and different UV rays affect different skin tones differently. For some skin tones, it could be UVB that is more damaging, while for others it could be UVA1 then or the high energy visible light for some skin tones. Especially in our country, there's such a variety in skin tones. As a consumer, it is best to become more aware about the ingredients, the different UV rays, and how these can affect at least your own skin tone. If you want me to make a video of how different UV rays can affect different skin tones or different phototypes, let me know in the comments. I think being aware is better than blindly trusting any brand or their claims written on the package. I think for most of us Indians, we can tell whether a sunscreen is working, is protecting our skin or not, because the same individual can have different skin tones around different body parts. So you know whether your sunscreen is working or not. And I don't know for everybody else, the way I use sunscreens is that I will use kind of expensive one on my face, then moderately expensive on my neck, and the least expensive, the cheapest on my body. And that is also very rarely, because I prefer gloves over sunscreen, because itna sara kaun kharidega. Because not just these sunscreens are very expensive, but their tubes or their bottles are getting smaller and smaller. And now finally coming back to the product. This is an SPF 50 plus and PA4 pluses sunscreen. This is a 100% mineral sunscreen using both mineral UV filters, that is zinc oxide as well as titanium dioxide. I also mailed the brand to know if this sunscreen has non-nano or micronized particles, and they informed me that the particles are micronized. The problem with micronized zinc oxide or titanium dioxide is that they are more likely to agglomeration. In the simple words, they are more likely to clump together in the formula, leaving some parts with lots of mineral particles, whereas others with not enough. This is an important aspect because for a product like sunscreen, they need to form an even layer on the surface of the skin to provide the adequate protection as mentioned in the packaging. And agglomeration of these particles means the particles are less likely to be evenly dispersed. The thing with micronized particles is they have to be coated so that they don't clump together or agglomerate. That is why I mailed the brand asking whether their zinc and titanium dioxide in this sunscreen were coated or not, and the brand replied that the mineral particles used in this sunscreen are uncoated, which is why I started having doubts regarding the protection of this sunscreen. And अगर आपको micronized sunscreen formulate ही करना है तो why do not use coated particles, or they could have also used non-nano particles. Personally, my preference is also more towards non-nano rather than micronized particles. And one thing I would like to appreciate about Fixderma is that they do respond to queries. In the recent days, I have also inquired some other brands regarding their sunscreens, and I'm yet to receive any responses from them. In the ingredients list, zinc oxide is mentioned as the first ingredient. The second UV filter, which is titanium dioxide, is the fifth ingredient. I suppose the concentration of zinc oxide is higher than titanium dioxide because the cosmetic ingredients list are often in descending order. Basically, the ingredient with highest concentration is at the top and the ingredient with the lowest concentration is at the most bottom of the ingredient list. I doubt that this particular product actually follows this rule because it is water that is mentioned as the last ingredient, whereas phenoxyethanol, which is a preservative and it is usually used around 1% in cosmetics, is somewhere in the middle of the ingredients list. This is a fluid sunscreen, as you can see. So obviously the concentration of water is going to be more than that of phenoxyethanol. One ingredient that I was scared about in this ingredient list, that is coconut oil, because for someone like me who has oily and acne prone skin, coconut oil can be comedogenic and further aggravate the acne. Surprisingly, even though this product does have coconut oil, this has not broken me out or further aggravated my existing acne, at least as of now. So I am guessing that it depends on the overall formulation of the product, but also on the type of coconut oil used. This sunscreen also contains bisabolol, which is an anti-inflammatory and soothing ingredient. Coming to the texture of this sunscreen is not too thick. It's not very runny either. Another thing I would like to mention about this product is that it does contain fragrance and the fragrance is not mild. And this product has not caused me any acne, even though I do have acne prone skin. Now I am going to take out a generous amount of this sunscreen. I am not using a measuring spoon, which I used to do years ago because I have lost my measuring spoon. I honestly do not even want to repurchase it. I am using this much amount of the product because I used to have an extremely unhealthy obsession with sunscreen to the point that I will not take a single step out of my house without what I thought was a solid protection from head to toe. And it took me several years to come out of that unhealthy sun protection obsession, and I would not like to go back to those days. So I have taken about this much. Using sunscreen in layers makes it easily blendable, also ensures that you do not get a white cast. But because I have used this sunscreen previously also and I know that it does not leave a white cast on my sunscreen, I am using all of it in one go. And I will try that I do not skip or edit the blending process of the sunscreen as much as I can. I am not using it near my eyebrows, trying to not use because it always gets inside and I get white eyebrows. So you will see that even though this is a mineral sunscreen, this is very easy to blend actually. It's not difficult. It does take some time, but when it does get fully blend in, it does not leave any white cast. At least for me. Maybe it will, maybe if you use this sunscreen, it will take less time to blend. But I used it in one go because I wanted to show this in the video what it actually looks like. Using this एक ही बार में, because I think mostly लोग layer नहीं करते sunscreen and they use all of it at one time only. Because I will not be editing, I am thinking of not editing or skipping the whole blending process. My mind is thinking about different things I can say in the video while blending, because I don't want to be mute, but I cannot think of anything, because जब भी मैं बोलना शुरू करती हूँ अटकते जाती हूँ, and especially in English. I mean, if I had to talk in Hindi, I would have been more comfortable, और शायद मैं इतना नहीं अटकती, but it does take me a lot of time to edit and shoot just because मैं अटकते रहती हूँ, and because of my fear of camera, that I pronounce so many things wrongly and I make weird faces while filming. And if you have watched this video till now, thank you so much, because I know I look so weird in the camera. I speak, I mean, not just in camera, I am weird in real life also, but then I speak so weird I speak in such a weird way in front of the camera that I can understand someone might get irritated because of this way of speaking. But trust me, I am trying. But every time I see the camera in front of me, मुझे सच में बहुत डर लगने लगता है. And yes, this is how it looks after completely blending the sunscreen. No white cast. So while the blending is smooth, I think it does sometimes pill while reapplying. Like, I'm not sure, because sometimes it does pill while reapplying, and sometimes it does not pill while reapplying. So I am going to reapply on the right side of my face and show the application to you and see real time whether this pills or not. So I am reapplying this right after blending that first layer. And I think yes, it is not pilling. I think it was probably the moisturizer I used underneath pehle, which was pilling. But yes, the first application I did was on bare skin, no moisturizer, no toner, no nothing. I used it right after washing my face, and even after reapplication, this does not pill. Now the product does mention water and sweat resistant. We are going to test that. But first, we are going to let the sunscreen settle for a few minutes. I personally do not like to wear makeup on daily basis, but I can understand some people do. So we are going to test whether this pills under foundation or not. Also, the foundation I'm using is Color Bar ka XO foundation. Coverage this gives is not like a foundation, actually more like a BB cream. I usually blend whatever foundation or BB cream I have with my fingers only. You can see that there is no pilling under foundation. So I'm going to spray a little bit of water. Close, you will be able to see that with only 2 to 3 sprays this does come off. So this is not waterproof as it claims. I think with more sprays this will come off more easily. So definitely not a sunscreen for rainy climate.